Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to be doing the synastry chart between Tina and Ike Turner. I had a request to go over their compatibility chart, so I'm going to get started. Before I do, I just want to mention that this synastry chart is just from the depths of hell. I didn't expect to find as much hellish details, but they're there. His Sato, Astarte, and Atahalpa asteroids conjuncts her north node by 0 degrees. Whatever touches your north node from the other person, that will be the theme of the relationship for you. In this case, his Sato, sadistic behavior, Astarte, big blow-ups and arguments, and Atahalpa has to do with cruelty or brutality, and it also means cocaine abuse. That was the theme of the relationship for her. 0 degrees. You can't get tighter than that. His Toro conjuncts his Tina asteroid in his natal chart in the sign of Scorpio, 1 degree. You don't want to mess with a Scorpio, especially him. His Sun conjuncts her Toro, 2 degrees in Scorpio. So we have bullying and menacing behavior. That's what the asteroid Toro, the energies, are. His Icarus, Pholus, and Medea conjuncts her vertex by 2 degrees. Now, I've talked about the vertex before in a chart. It's a very important point. So whatever it touches from the other person, you will receive those energies, and it will be very it's like a second descendant. The energies will affect you deeply. In this case, Icarus, rash and impulsive behavior combined with Medea, extreme revenge, with Pholus asteroid, which is an asteroid that has to do with explosion. So it magnifies whatever it touches. We've got extreme revenge and rash, impulsive behavior from him, conjuncting her vertex, 2 degrees. Her Ishtar and Sun, 1 degree, conjuncts his Mars, 0 degrees. So we have, again, Ishtar has to do with extreme arguments and blow-ups. And it conjuncts his Mars. Mars is the lower octave of Pluto, and this is at 0 degrees. So Mars brings fire and power to whatever it conjuncts. And in this case, big arguments. Now, his Chaos conjuncts her Mars, 1 degree. Chaos is self-explanatory. So Mars, fire and power, conjuncting his Chaos, self-explanatory. His Isolde conjuncts her descendant and her point of fortune. Isolde, 0 degrees to her descendant and conjuncting her point of fortune at 3 degrees. The descendant, a very important angle in a chart. Whatever conjuncts your descendant from the other person, you will receive that in the relationship. It also conjuncts her point of fortune. That is a circle with a cross in the middle. That's what it looks like in a chart. And it magnifies whatever it touches because it's like a mini Jupiter. Isolde. That asteroid has to do with a love triangle or cheating. So he cheated on her. And these orbs are tight, 0 degrees and 3. Her Apophis asteroid conjuncts his Sun, 2 degrees. Apophis is an asteroid that has to do with destruction, and it's conjuncting his Sun. So she brought destruction to him towards the very end. Good for her. The Sun and the Moon are the most important points of planets in a synastry chart, so you really have to pay attention to what conjunctions are, because it will affect you deeply. The other personal planets are important as well, but especially the Sun and the Moon and the angles. His This Okada asteroid and his point of fortune squares her Venus 0 degrees. You can't get tighter than that. Okada is an asteroid that has to do with extreme violence. And since it conjuncts his point of fortune, it magnifies the energies of that asteroid, squaring her Venus 0 degrees. We've got violence on steroids here. And it's a square, so most of this happened behind the scenes. His Attila conjuncts her moon 2 degrees. Attila the Hun, you get it. Attila has to do with brutality and cruelty, and it's conjuncting her moon. You don't want any bad energies from asteroids conjuncting your moon, because it won't end up good. I mean, this is an automatic fail so far. I would have, if I had done this chart for someone else, I would have said, run for the hills and block them on your cell phone, because it doesn't get any better. His Hades and Fink asteroid conjuncts his north node in his natal chart. Hades, god of the underworld, Pluto, and the Fink asteroid has to do with disloyalty to people that you are close to. So that is the theme of his life. I've talked about the north node before. Whatever touches your north node in your natal chart will be the theme of your life or your life's purpose. So in this case, god of the underworld, disloyalty. I mean, I know he was a singer, but like I've said before, work aside, what are people going to remember him by? Mostly the abuse and disloyalty and craziness. His blow conjuncts her IC 3 degrees. The IC, a very important angle in a chart. It's where your inner child lives. And whatever touches that from another person, it better be good. Because if it isn't, you're going to feel it deeply. And in this case, blow, that has to do with cocaine addiction or failures and mistakes. And it could also mean, being in a physical fight. His Saturn conjuncts her Folsom asteroid, 0 degrees. Folsom is an asteroid that has to do with prison. And Saturn is the energies of that planet. It could be very restrictive. It's Saturn is like a stern parent. So he had her trapped. She felt like she was in prison. And Saturn is ruled by Capricorn. So that's domicile. So it's a natural connection between Saturn and Capricorn, and it's conjuncting her Folsom. The energies can't get stronger than that, and it's at 0 degrees as well. So, yeah, not good at all. Now, what I'm going to explain to you next, if you don't believe in astrology or asteroids, you should after this explanation, because after I saw this conjunction, gave me goosebumps. Her Proserpina asteroid conjuncts his sun in Pluto 2 degrees, and it also conjuncts her IC. I just explained about the IC, so I'm not going to go over that again. Proserpina was kidnapped and taken into the depths of hell, into the underworld, into a realm of darkness by Pluto Hades. She was raped, tortured, and violently abused. It was a hellish existence for Proserpina. She became queen of the underworld, and she got a lot of power. So Tina, that lady had a lot of power, has a lot of power, and she eventually escaped because her Chiron squares his Nessus. Nessus has to do with abuse, and Chiron has to do with pain. So I know there's People, astrologers say that Chiron is the wounded healer, but I don't really buy into that myth because I've done so many charts where Chiron brings pain to the other person 95% of the time. So in this case, she escaped rather quickly. It's a square. She did it behind the scenes because of his abuse, and there was pain involved. Now I'm going to go over the planetary aspects. Not that I really have to because you get the picture, but I think it's important because a lot of people don't, or astrologers don't use asteroids. These are red flags. His Mars squares her Mars, 0 degrees. You can't get tighter than that. It's the tightest orb. Mars has to do with, in this aspect, the square, it has to do with violence and war. Ego clashes. His Mars conjuncts her Sun, 0 degrees. This is rivalry and aggressiveness by the Mars person, which is him. And since it's at 0 degrees, again, guarantee, it's a guaranteed energy. The closest, I'm sorry, if it was 3 degrees or 4 degrees or 5 degrees, you would still feel it. It won't be as, it'll be a little weaker than a 0 degrees, which is the strongest. His Mercury and Sun in Scorpio opposes her Uranus, 4 degrees, and the Sun at 7. Battles in communication, lots of friction. They can result in pure madness because Uranus is involved here, and Uranus has to do with, there's a lot of instability, unpredictability, and erratic behavior. So there's a lot of battles in communication because Mercury has to do with communication. Now his Pluto squares her Saturn, 3 degrees. You probably won't see that in compatibility charts today because Pluto squaring Saturn is a generational aspect, but I'm going to explain it anyway. This has to do with extreme power struggles, trust and control issues by the Pluto person, and Pluto will break down all of Saturn's natural defenses and psychologically and emotionally drain them. It's a very damaging effect. Can be with a lot of emotional blackmail as well. So he was just brutal. I've said this before. You should get a synastry chart if you are thinking about getting married or if you're going to be in a long-term relationship, because I've seen a lot of synastry charts, not as bad as this one, some, but the flip side of the coin always shows up, and there is a flip side to the coin. You want to make sure that all of the good stuff in the synastry chart outweighs the bad stuff before you commit to a long-term relationship. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed this interpretation, and I will be back more with other synastry charts. So have a nice day.